At the BBQ, my family mocked my 15-year-old son's rejection letter while toasting my nephew's future. A month later, I found out they used my signature for their loan. I didn't argue, I reported it, walked away, and watched their perfect life fall apart while my kid thrived. Hey Reddit, my family always treated my brother's kid like royalty and mine like background noise. I kept quiet for years until I found out they'd been using my name for their lies. That's when I decided to stop being the nice one. But first, let me tell you how it all started. I'm Ryan Vance, 41, IT project manager at a logistics company. Single dad. My son Landon just turned 15 and spends most of his free time building stuff. Tiny models, robotics kits, whatever he can scrounge from thrift stores. My sister Melissa is the opposite type. She married a lawyer named Trevor Grant, and their son is Chase. They live in a big house outside town with a 3-car garage and a backyard kitchen that looks like something from a TV ad. Mom and Dad, Diane and Gerald, dote on her family. They call them go-getters. I'm the quiet one who fixes things when they break. The day of Chase's 16th birthday, my son Landon asked if we could go. I said sure. I wasn't going to let them say later that I'd kept him away. We pulled up in my 10-year-old SUV, the one with a dent on the back door. Melissa's driveway looked like a small dealership. Rows of cars, shiny stone patio, fake waterfall in the corner. A photographer with a ring light was already there, taking pictures of decorations. Inside, Diane and Gerald were glued to Chase, talking about how work ethic pays off and how he sets the bar. Chase was grinning like he owned the place. Melissa came over, all smiles. Ryan, you made it. Park okay? Her tone made it sound like she hadn't expected me to manage that on my own. We got through small talk and finger food. Everyone kept complimenting the new patio. I nodded when someone asked about work. Mostly I watched Landon. He was quiet but curious, taking everything in. He'd wrapped his own gift, a little 3D printed model of the old house our parents used to own. He'd spent 3 nights on it, said Grandma might like to see it again. Then came the big reveal. Gerald clinked his glass, called everyone outside. There was a sheet covering something in the driveway. We wanted to reward Chase for his dedication, he said. Diane pulled the sheet off and there it was, a brand new car. People cheered, phones came out. Chase shouted something about finally earning it. Landon froze. I just put a hand on his shoulder. Cameras flashed while Melissa hugged our parents. It's all about encouraging ambition, Diane said loud enough for everyone to hear. A few minutes later, Landon handed over his gift. Melissa smiled politely, set it down on the drinks table next to napkins, and went back to posing for photos. Nobody even opened the box. Landon didn't say anything. He just kept his hands in his pockets. Trevor wandered over, looked at my SUV, and laughed. Hey, maybe next year we'll start a GoFundMe for you, huh? The people near him chuckled. I didn't. I looked right at him until the laughter stopped. He mumbled something about checking on the grill and walked off. I was about to leave early when Diane called everyone back inside for one quick family matter. She said she was starting a family legacy trust to help the grandkids later in life. Nothing big, just paperwork, so everyone was included. There was a short form on the counter and a QR code for a small contribution. Everyone signed. I skimmed it, saw nothing weird, and transferred $250 from my phone. Diane smiled. I'll email everyone the document for records. I nodded, took a picture of the page with my name on it. Habit from work. Right after that, the photographer shouted for a family photo. Winners to the front! Diane laughed as she said it, but she meant it. Melissa and Chase stood center stage with the new car behind them. I ended up half cut off on the edge next to Landon. He forced a smile. I didn't bother. An hour later, we said polite goodbyes. Nobody mentioned Landon's gift. On the way to the car, I saw the little box still sitting by the drinks table, half hidden under paper plates. I grabbed it without saying anything. We drove home with the windows cracked. Landon scrolled through social media, seeing posts from the party. The captions all said stuff like hard work pays off and proud of our achiever. He didn't say a word. I could tell it bothered him. I reached over and turned the radio down. We're not like them, I said. And that's fine. He nodded, still looking at the screen. The glow lit his face in the dark SUV. When we got home, he went straight to his room and put the little model on his shelf. I checked my phone before bed. Diane had already sent an email. LegacyTrustDocs.pdf. Everyone CC'd. The subject line said, for records. I downloaded it and saved a copy to my work drive, just in case. Before turning off the light, I looked at the photo Melissa had posted. Melissa, Trevor, and Chase with the car. Our parents smiling in the background. Landon and I were cropped halfway out. I stared at it for a bit, then closed the app. I didn't come for them. I came so my kid could see fake up close and learn to stand without begging. A week later, Mom called and said they were having a small lunch for college planning. She made it sound like it was for both boys, so I said sure. I didn't want her saying later that I didn't care about Landon's future. We pulled into their driveway right at noon. Same routine. Melissa's SUV already parked in the good spot, her husband Trevor standing outside. Melissa started talking before we even sat down. So Chase's coach recommended a summer camp in Florida. It's all about leadership and performance. $6,000 for 3 weeks, but it's totally worth it. She smiled straight at our parents. They only take the best? Mom nodded proudly. That's wonderful. Maybe we can all chip in a little. Make it a family effort. She looked at me when she said it. I took a sip of water. I handle my house. You handle yours. The room went still. Gerald cleared his throat and said something about humility and family support, but I barely listened. I checked my watch just to make the point. Melissa shrugged. We'll figure it out. I just thought since we're all family. After that, the mood got stiff. Landon ate quietly. Chase bragged about how hard he'd been training. I didn't say much. When lunch ended, I stood to leave, but Mom stopped me. Ryan, before you go, could you look at our router? The Wi-Fi's been weird, and your father's printer won't connect. Sure, I said, even though I wanted to be gone. 10 minutes later, I was on the floor behind their desk, untangling cables while they stood in the kitchen talking about how disciplined Chase was. He's so responsible with his money, Mom said. He even helps Trevor manage the family budget, Gerald added. From the floor, I just tightened one of the cables and said, try it now. The printer blinked green. Oh, you're a lifesaver, Mom said. Yeah, I said, standing up. I know. We left soon after. In the car, Landon said, Grandma really likes Chase, huh? Yeah, I said. She always has. That night, I stopped by a diner where my friend Noah worked nights on his side business paperwork. I told him about the lunch. He laughed and said, You're training your kid to watch you carry them. You sure that's the lesson you want to teach? Not anymore, I said. He nodded. Then stop showing up every time they snap their fingers. You've got skills, man. Use them for something that's yours. That weekend, I cleared out the corner of the garage. Landon helped. We built a small workbench out of scrap plywood and an old shelf I'd had since college. I bought a used pegboard from a yard sale and hung our tools. Labeled everything with masking tape, screwdrivers, clamps, soldering kit. Landon liked the setup. Looks like a real workshop, he said. It is, I told him. You build here, not at school or your grandma's table. This is ours. He smiled a little. We spent the rest of the afternoon fixing an old speaker we'd found on Craigslist. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. By Monday, I'd already lined up 2 small install jobs through Noah, setting up conference room screens for a local insurance office and running cables for a small clinic. Nothing big, but it felt good. Friday night, Landon came home from school holding a printed email. Dad, check this out, he said. It was an announcement from the school's engineering club. Both he and Chase had qualified to apply for a summer mentorship program run by the state university. It was competitive, only a handful of students got picked each year. The paper said applicants needed a recommendation letter from a respected adult or professional. Mom called the next morning. Gerald says he'll write both letters, she said. It'll be so nice to have something coming from the same source. Right, I said. That's fine. I didn't argue. Yet. I hung up and looked at Landon. He was already back at his workbench, sketching ideas for something he wanted to build. I watched him measure out a piece of wood, steady and patient. He didn't ask for help. Didn't need to. A few weeks after that family lunch, Mom texted in the group chat saying, Gerald finished the recommendation letters for both boys. We'll handle the submissions together. She added 2 heart emojis and a smiley. Melissa replied within seconds. Perfect. Chase is so excited. I read it twice and put my phone down. Landon was at the kitchen table working on his essay for the same program, a state university mentorship thing for high school students who liked engineering and design. It was a solid opportunity. Hands-on workshops, college credit, good for resumes. He'd found the application himself, printed the packet, and started filling it out before I even mentioned it. He asked, You think I should talk about the bridge project from science fair or the model house? The bridge, I said. You built that from scratch. It shows how you think. He nodded and started typing again. The kid didn't overthink things, just did the work. A few days later, Melissa posted a photo of Chase holding a printed copy of his letter in the family group chat. The caption said, Dad really nailed Chase's leadership qualities. It's such a strong letter. There were 20 messages after that. Mostly clapping emojis and proud of you comments from cousins and aunts. Nobody asked about Landon's. I messaged Mom privately. Can you send me copies of both letters? I like keeping records for Landon's stuff. She replied, Oh, honey, no need. I'm handling submissions together. It's simpler that way. I started typing a response, then stopped. There was no point. I deleted the draft and put my phone away. That weekend, Landon printed his essay. He wanted me to check grammar before he submitted it. I read through it while he soldered something on his workbench. The essay was short, plain, and honest, about how building small things made him feel focused, about fixing broken toys at school for other kids. He ended it with, I like making things that actually work. I handed it back. It's good. You sure? He asked. Yeah, I said. It sounds like you. He smiled, small but proud. Over the next week, life stayed normal. I worked. He went to school. We tinkered in the garage at night. I noticed, though, that whenever the family chat popped up, it was always about Chase, how he was balancing so much, or already looking like a college student. Melissa sent updates like it was a newsletter. One night she posted a picture of him standing in front of his car, wearing his school jacket, captioned, Future engineer in the making. I didn't comment. Landon saw it and didn't say anything either. He just turned back to his project. The following week, Gerald called. He asked if I'd checked on Landon's essay submission yet. I said yes, it was done. He told me the university emailed confirmation that both applications had gone through. Good, I said. He paused, maybe waiting for me to thank him, then changed the subject to Chase's soccer stats. After that, I started feeling that same quiet heaviness I'd felt at the birthday party. The one where you know the game is already rigged, but you play anyway because walking away would just make them call you bitter. One night, I was paying bills at the kitchen table while Landon tested the small motor on a model drone he'd been building from spare parts. He looked serious, like it actually mattered if the thing hovered for more than 5 seconds. When it did, he grinned just a little. You got it to work, I said. Took all week, he said. But yeah, that moment, him proud, no audience, no trophies, was the whole reason I kept showing up to family things at all. Just to make sure they couldn't twist the story later, couldn't tell him I didn't care. The next morning, Mom sent a group text. Fingers crossed for both boys this week. Then Melissa replied, Chase's teacher said the letter was incredible. I have a good feeling. I muted the chat for the day. On Thursday, around lunchtime, Melissa texted again. He got in. Chase is going to the mentorship program. So proud of our hard-working young man. Pictures came right after. Chase holding the acceptance email on his phone. The new car behind him, smiling big. The family chat lit up instantly. Emojis, exclamation marks. He deserves it. So proud. And what an example for the next generation. I didn't reply. I just scrolled. Around 6 that evening, I came home from work and found Landon sitting at the kitchen table. He looked fine, just tired. His laptop screen showed an email that started with, Thank you for applying, he said. Guess I didn't get it. I read it over his shoulder. Rejection. Simple, polite, impersonal. You okay? I asked. He nodded. Yeah, I'll try again next year. He meant it too. He always did. I made dinner. We didn't talk much. He ate, went back to the garage, and kept tinkering. Later that night, when he was asleep, I opened the family chat again. Melissa was still posting, now about Chase's upcoming orientation and the gear they had to buy. Hard work really pays off, she wrote again. Mom replied, He's always been a leader. No one mentioned Landon's name. Not once. I stared at that chat for a while, then closed the app. The house was quiet except for the small hum of Landon's printer in the garage. I sat there at the table, the glow from my phone fading. I didn't message anyone, didn't call, didn't even type the words sitting in my head. I just saved the rejection email, marked it unread, and turned off my phone. They wanted to celebrate? Fine. I'd wait. I wasn't done yet. The invite came through the family chat a week after Landon's rejection email. BBQ at our place to celebrate Chase's acceptance. Melissa added fireworks emojis and a photo of her backyard with new patio furniture. Landon saw it on my phone while we were eating breakfast. You think we should go? He asked. I hesitated. You want to? He shrugged. Grandma will be there. Might as well. So we went. I told myself it was for him, not them. The Grants' backyard looked like a magazine spread. New outdoor kitchen, rented canopy, food trays lined up along the counter. There must have been 40 people there. Loud music, kids running around, everyone dressed like it was a press event. Melissa spotted us and waved big. You made it, she shouted like she was surprised. She handed me a plate before I could even put my drink down. Grab some food, then maybe you can help Trevor with the sound system. It's acting up. I nodded. Landon headed toward the drink cooler. Across the yard, Diane was standing next to Chase, showing him off to anyone who'd listen. He's always been a leader, she said. Focused, responsible, just like his father. Gerald nodded proudly. I stayed near the fence, watching Landon. He looked fine, just quiet. Chase and a few of his friends were near the grill, laughing about something on a phone. When the music stopped for a moment, Melissa clapped her hands. Okay, everyone, she said, standing near the patio steps. We just want to take a second to celebrate Chase's amazing achievement. It's not every day a 16-year-old gets into a university mentorship program. Everyone cheered. Trevor put an arm around her. It's about raising achievers, she said, smiling toward our parents. About effort, about setting an example. I stayed where I was. I didn't clap. A few minutes later, Melissa walked over, balancing a tray of drinks. Ryan, could you check the speakers real quick? The music keeps cutting out. Sure, I said. I crouched near the setup by the deck and adjusted the cables. It took less than a minute to fix. Melissa didn't notice. She was already talking to guests again. When I stood up, I saw Chase sitting at a table with his phone out. He laughed, showing the screen to a friend. The kid looked uncomfortable, but Chase kept scrolling. I walked closer. On the screen was a new post. Chase, holding his acceptance email, captioned, "You get what you work for." Some people just talk. Comments were already rolling in. A few classmates wrote things like, "Guess not everyone's leadership letter hit the same," and "Oof, awkward for your cousin." Landon was standing nearby, pretending not to see. I walked up to Chase. "Take it down." He blinked. "What?" "Delete the post," I said. Calm, even voice. He smirked. "It's just a joke." Trevor turned from the grill. "What's going on?" "Your son's being a jerk," I said. "He's taking the post down." Trevor wiped his hands. "Ryan, come on, they're teenagers." "Don't make a scene." I looked at him. Once. Chase's fingers hesitated over his screen, then hit delete. He put the phone down. Trevor started to say something else, but I didn't move. He stopped. The yard got quiet. Melissa glanced over, uneasy, then went back to her guests. I told Landon, "We're heading out." He nodded, grabbed his backpack, and followed me. The ride home was silent except for the hum of the road. Landon looked out the window. Not sad, just distant. I knew that look. It's what happens when you figure out adults aren't always fair. At home, he went straight to his room. I sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and started clearing emails. That's when I saw one from Diane dated 3 weeks earlier. Recommendationsfinal.pdf. I'd skimmed past it before, thinking it was just confirmation of submission. I clicked it. 2 pages opened. The first one was Chase's letter. 2 full pages of glowing phrases. Natural leader, exceptional communicator, takes initiative, represents our family values. Gerald's signature at the bottom looked like he'd practiced it. The second page was Landon's. 7 lines. Quiet and polite. Arrives on time. Shows interest in hands-on tasks. That was it. No examples, no details. Just filler. I leaned back in the chair, staring at both letters side by side. Same font, same header, same date. The difference between them was impossible to miss. They'd written my son off before he even had a chance. I printed both pages and set them on the table. The sound of the printer filled the kitchen for a few seconds. When it stopped, I just looked at them again. No anger burst out, no yelling, no messages to the family chat. Just silence. Landon came out a few minutes later, still in his jacket. "You need help with something?" "No," I said. "Go rest. Long day." And he nodded and went back to his room. I turned off the printer and stacked the pages neatly. Then I opened a new folder on my laptop and named it Proof. I moved the letters into it, saved a copy on a flash drive, and backed it up to the cloud. Old habits from work. When I was done, I closed the laptop and sat back. I wasn't planning revenge that night. I wasn't planning anything, really. I just started keeping receipts. A week after the barbecue, Mom showed up at my office unannounced. She had a manila folder tucked under her arm, and that same polite smile she used when she was about to ask for something. "Ryan, can you take a quick look at these papers? It's just the trust stuff again. Gerald said you'd know if it looks right." I took the folder. "What am I looking for?" "Oh, just make sure everything's consistent. We had to move a few things around. New account or something." That last line caught me. "New account?" She waved it off. "Bank said it's just for efficiency." I flipped through. It looked like the same old forms, but there was a new logo on the top of one page, a bank name I didn't recognize. The numbers looked bigger, cleaner. It wasn't the small credit union they'd used before. I asked if she had the digital copies. Oh, honey, I just printed what Gerald sent me. I nodded, kept my face neutral. I'll take a look tonight. She thanked me, left with a plate of cookies from the receptionist, and drove off in Dad's new car. When I got home, I scanned every page before returning the originals. Then I compared the headers to the original Legacy Trust file from the birthday party months ago. Different routing numbers. One document mentioned a secured asset line. I didn't touch it after that. I just labeled the folder Family Docs, Review, and saved it to a thumb drive. 2 nights later, I met Noah at the shop. We were updating our business vendor application to work with a new parts supplier. When he ran my info through the credit verification, he frowned at the screen. That's weird, he said. You've got a guarantor flag on a private secured loan. It looked like they'd pushed it through an e-signature broker using my signature on file image. What kind of loan? Looks like a personal line. High limit, opened about 6 weeks ago. I leaned over to see it. My stomach sank. I didn't open that, I said. You sure? Yeah, I don't borrow money I don't need. Noah printed the reference page. Here, says you're the secondary guarantor. I took the paper and stared at the line with my name on it. My signature wasn't there, just the typed name Ryan D. Vance under a scanned image box that said signature on file. That's when it hit me, the trust PDF. I drove home that night and opened the email from Diane labeled Legacy Trust Docs. I scrolled to the bottom. My signature was clean, crisp, and perfectly centered. Too perfect. They had copied it. Then I opened the bank file Mom dropped off earlier in the week. There it was again. The same image, pasted onto a guarantor agreement for a family asset secured loan. Dated the same month, Melissa posted a photo online showing Chase's new training setup and Trevor's equipment upgrades. I sat there staring at the screen until the cursor stopped blinking. They'd used my name, my signature. It wasn't a new signature, it was a copy-paste from the trust PDF. The next day, I met Noah again. He could tell something was wrong. I told him what I'd found. He shook his head slowly. They forged you? Looks like it. Damn. What are you gonna do? Collect everything. I started that night. Pulled every email from Mom, every message with attachments, every bank contact. I exported them all into a clean folder and labeled each one. Then I built a timeline. Birthday party trust doc, follow-up messages, Chase's new gear posts, the secured loan record. I called the bank's fraud department the next morning, explained the situation in short sentences, sent them the documents. They told me an investigator would reach out within a week. I called a local lawyer next and set an appointment for the weekend. No rage, no confrontation, just process. Meanwhile, Landon kept working on his project in the garage. I didn't tell him any of this. He was focused, late nights with the soldering iron, reprinting parts that didn't fit right. Sometimes I'd sit nearby and hand him tools. He burned through a spool of filament and half a box of bolts before he got the model to run smoothly. It was a small robotic arm, meant to sort parts by size. Simple but clever. He wanted to enter it in the regional innovation fair. Think I can make it in time? He asked one night. Yeah, I said. You've already done the hard part. He smiled and went back to tightening screws. Watching him work kept me steady. While they built lies with signatures, my kid was building something real. 3 days later, Mom called again. Ryan, we're having a family dinner Sunday, just to clear the air. Everyone will be there. It's time to move forward. Sure, I said. She sounded relieved. Good. It'll be nice. I hung up, saved the date on my calendar, and wrote one line in my notes app. Family dinner equals finish it. I wasn't returning to reconnect. I was there to make sure every page was in the folder before I shut the door. That night, after Landon went to bed, I finalized the evidence packet. Originals, timestamps, email headers, the forged doc, and the bank's automated reply confirming the investigation ticket. Clean and simple. I backed it up twice, one drive at home and one at work. When everything was organized, I sat at the desk and looked at the folder name on my screen. Proof. It wasn't about winning. It was about ending it right. I closed the laptop and leaned back. The house was quiet except for the sound of the refrigerator cycling on. By Monday morning, the fraud report had been filed. The lawyer had the documents. Nobody in the family knew yet, and I wasn't about to tell them. Sunday evening came fast. The table at my parents' house was set like they were hosting strangers. Cloth napkins, candles, silver serving dishes no one used except on holidays. Melissa stood near the center, acting like the host, giving directions about seating. Trevor poured wine with that calm, practiced tone lawyers use when they think they control the room. Diane smiled too wide when we walked in. Gerald shook my hand like he was meeting a client. Chase sat at the end of the table, scrolling on his phone. Landon sat beside me, quiet but alert. He'd insisted on coming, Said he wanted to be there, just to see. Mom started first. Ryan, we're glad you came. We've all had some misunderstandings lately, but it's time to move forward as a family. I nodded once. Sure. Trevor cleared his throat. I think we can agree there's been some confusion about financial documents and the trust. These things get complicated. Melissa smiled like a talk show host. Exactly. We just need to communicate better. I didn't say anything. They kept talking. Unity. Forgiveness. Communication. It sounded like they were reading from the same script. When the noise faded, I reached into my bag and placed a thick folder on the table. It made a flat sound that stopped everyone mid-sentence. You used my name and my signature image for a loan, I said. That's fraud. The silence was instant. Then Trevor laughed softly. Ryan, come on. That's a strong word. It was standard paperwork. The trust needed collateral. I cut him off. My collateral. Gerald frowned. You're making a scene, son. We can talk about this privately. It's already reported, I said. My tone didn't change. Diane blinked. Reported? To who? The bank, fraud department, and my lawyer. Trevor leaned back. You didn't have to go that far. This could have been handled in the family. It was handled, I said. Melissa crossed her arms. You're tearing this family apart over nothing. I looked at her, then at Mom. You did that when you made me staff. No one spoke. The only sound was Chase's phone vibrating on the table. I turned to him. You don't owe me anything, kid. Just stop playing bully online. That's all. He looked down, embarrassed, and nodded. I looked back at Melissa and Trevor. We're done. Trevor started to say something about lawyers and misunderstandings, but I was already standing. Landon stood too. Mom's voice cracked. Ryan, please don't leave angry. I'm not angry, I said. I'm finished. We walked out. No slamming doors, no raised voices. Just quiet steps across the tile. The kind of quiet that meant it was finally over. Outside, the air was cold. Landon followed close, carrying his backpack. Neither of us spoke until we got to the car. You good? I asked. Yeah, he said. You? Better than I've been in a while? He nodded. Can we stop by Noah's shop? Yeah, I said. Let's do that. Noah was still at the shop when we got there. He had the lights on and music low. The workbench was covered in tools, wires, and coffee cups. Landon unpacked his project and set it on the table without saying a word. You two survived the dinner? Noah asked. Yeah, I said. It's done. Landon went straight to work, tightening screws and testing connections. Noah and I stood back watching him. He's close, Noah said. I know. For the next hour, we helped him adjust the sensors and recalibrate the arm movement. The kid worked steady, same as always. Focused, precise, no wasted motion. At midnight, the final test ran perfectly. The small robotic arm sorted the bolts by size without missing one. Landon exhaled, a quiet sound of relief. You did it, I said. He smiled. Yeah. I logged into the fair's submission site on my phone and uploaded the video we'd just taken. The screen flashed submission received. We high-fived. No big speech, no celebration. Just a clean moment that felt real. I looked at him, grease on his fingers, hair sticking out from under his hoodie. He looked tired but proud. You know, I said, this is the stuff that matters. He nodded. I know. We cleaned up the tools, shut down the lights, and locked the door behind us. Driving home, Landon leaned against the window, half asleep. The folder with the evidence sat on the back seat next to his project case. One proof of lies, one proof of effort. I glanced at him and thought about how different those things looked side by side. I didn't come for forgiveness. I came to end the transaction. And I had. After I filed the report, things started moving faster than I expected. The bank called within 2 weeks. The investigator confirmed the forgery. Your signature was pulled from another document and reused, she said. We're escalating this to our legal department. By the end of the month, I got an email confirming the loan was frozen. The guarantor file, the one with my name, was marked fraudulent. The investigator said I'd be cleared from liability within 30 days. A few days later, I heard from Trevor. He didn't try to reach me in person. He just left a voicemail. His voice wasn't calm or smug this time, just tired. Ryan, we need to talk. There's been complications with the loan. I don't know what you told them, but this could ruin us. I didn't call him back. Later that week, Trevor's firm posted a short statement online saying he had voluntarily stepped back during an internal ethics review. I knew what that meant. The private loan was tied to his business expenses. Once the bank flagged it, it was only a matter of time before his partners saw the paper trail. Mom tried to reach out next. She left a voicemail too, softer. Ryan, we're scared. The bank froze the account. Your father's confused. I don't understand how this got so serious. I didn't yell. I didn't answer. I just forwarded everything to my lawyer and went on with my day. A few weeks later, life started looking different. Melissa's social media turned quiet. Then the tone changed. No more photos of Chase's car or expensive dinners. Just gray quotes about lessons learned and family first. People noticed. The comments under her posts got shorter until they stopped completely. Chase deleted his accounts for a while. When he came back, it was just normal stuff. School photos, random memes. I didn't hold it against him. He was a kid in a house that taught the wrong things. While all that was happening, Landon and I focused on what mattered. The innovation fair came up quick. His project ran clean. No drama, no hiccups, just good, solid work. Judges stopped and asked questions. The professor from the state university studied it for a full 5 minutes, then said, "You built this alone?" Landon nodded. "With my dad." The professor smiled. "Keep doing that. You'll go far." And 2 weeks later, Landon got an email directly from that same professor offering him a place in the mentorship program, after a spot opened in the same summer cohort. Only this time, no letters, no middlemen, no gatekeepers. Just proof of ability. He showed me the email after dinner. "Guess they changed their minds," he said. I looked at him. "No, you changed it for them." A few days later, the local paper ran a short piece. Local Teens Engineering Project earns state recognition. It had a photo of Landon standing next to his project, grinning awkwardly. I was in the background, tightening a cable. The article talked about work ethic and practical design. No mention of family, no mention of anyone else's name, just his. That same week, an envelope showed up in the mail, from my parents. 3 pages handwritten. They admitted everything. The favoritism, the silence, the money, the forged document. They said they were ashamed, that they wanted to make it right. And I sat at the kitchen table and read it twice. Then I wrote one line back. "We're doing okay. If you want to be in our lives, show up respectful. No more paperwork. No more asks." I mailed it the next day. Business picked up. The word spread that Noah and I were reliable, efficient, and quiet. Schools, offices, even a hospital called for installs. We expanded into a bigger workspace. Landon helped on weekends, soldering wires or coding the simple stuff. One night Noah said, "You realize your kid's better at this than we are, right?" "Yeah," I said. "That's kind of the point." We started hosting small Saturday workshops. Kids came by to learn wiring, coding, soldering basics. Landon ran the sessions himself. He didn't say much, just taught. The parents always thanked me afterward, but I pointed to him. "That's his thing," I'd say. Watching him teach felt better than any win I'd had in years. By early spring, the fraud case wrapped. The bank sent me an official letter clearing my name. The loan was reversed, Trevor's account under review, and my credit restored. It felt final. Mom called once more after that. Her tone was calm, not begging, not angry. "We're trying to live simpler," she said. "We sold the big house. Your father's gardening again. Maybe we'll visit sometime." "Maybe," I said. "We'll see." And that was it. One Friday morning, I stood on the porch while Landon packed the old SUV for school. He'd cleaned it up, even installed a small phone holder he'd designed and 3D printed himself. On the dashboard sat that tiny model house, the one he'd made for Chase's birthday, the one everyone ignored. He caught me looking. "You kept it," I said. He smiled. "It's a reminder." He started the car. "You working today?" "Yeah. Noah wants to test the new setup at the office." He nodded, backed down the driveway, and gave a small wave before turning the corner. The road was quiet. The morning light hit the truck just right. I stood there for a long moment, thinking how simple things had finally become. No more pretending, no more chasing approval that never meant anything. We'd built something real, something that couldn't be taken or faked. We stopped trying to prove anything to them. We just kept building. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.